Hi all, just one moment as my computer catches up. Great. Okay, we're here. Hi all, I'm Stephanie Ogden. I am the director of the water team, which sits within the Food and Water Systems unit. Welcome to the FWS video training series. This presentation is a very brief introduction to the water team and our broader portfolio and work. So just to set the stage as to where water fits within CARE's Vision 2030. So CARE or water is explicitly expressed within CARE's Vision 2030 as part of our right to food, water, and nutrition. That is articulated within the right to food, water, and nutrition strategy and commitment as the sentence that's highlighted here. CARE strives for a world where hunger and malnutrition are eradicated and everyone has access to safe, affordable drinking water and adequate sanitation and hygiene. Within the right to food, water, and nutrition strategy, there are 8 interrelated pathways of change. And the water team leads 2 of these pathways. Those are the ones outlined in blue boxes, and those are improved water resources management and ecosystems protection, and improved access to water, sanitation, and hygiene. We're also, water is fundamental to and contributes to a number of the other pathways. Those are the ones underlined in blue, and that includes improved nutrition, women's access to inclusive markets, women's access to and control of sustainable productive resources, and diversified livelihoods and rural development. So water or sanitation and hygiene, water resources management are pivotal to each of those pathways of change. I'm sure you have all read the Food, Water, and Nutrition Strategy, but if you haven't, here are some links both to the final document as well as to a shorter summary of that document. So what does CARE's water work look like at a global level? First, we use the term water plus, and the reason for that is twofold. The first is to encompass water, sanitation, hygiene, but also water resources management and water for agriculture. So WASH is a term that has generally been bundled together to mean water, sanitation, and hygiene with kind of a connotation of health outcomes, but the term water plus is really meant to encompass this broader set of water related issues and water security. It's also meant to express the fundamental and interrelated nature, cross-cutting nature of water. Water is fundamental to all of CARE's outcome areas, and Water Plus is meant to convey that integral connection and the interconnectedness of water to those other domains, such as health, education, livelihoods, women's economic empowerment, gender justice. Broadly, at a global level, CARE's Water Plus work falls into 4 broad categories. The first of which is WASH and emergencies. So that is all of the WASH that CARE does as part of our emergency response work, part of our work with IDP settings. And this work is actually managed by the WASH and emergencies team, which currently sits at CARE Australia. This is a global team that deploys in emergency settings and manages, as I said, much of that WASH and emergencies work. The other 3 domains are managed by the water team and by FWS. Each of these categories is interrelated and is a bit of a continuum, so this serves just as a broad categorization. But the water team manages then these other domains: wash system strengthening, water for agriculture, and integrated water resources management and protection. So WASH system strengthening is essentially WASH in development contexts. We recognize this is a spectrum between WASH and emergencies and WASH and development contexts, and we coordinate closely with the WASH and emergency team across that continuum and particularly in nexus settings. But our WASH system strengthening work really encompasses all of our work around water and WASH services, that is, in particular, water governance, increasing the capacities and conditions for sustainable, reliable, and equitable services. That's the work around sanitation and hygiene behavior change, and work around market-based approaches to water and sanitation. This is by far the biggest part of our work globally. We have both standalone programs as well as WASH embedded as components in other programs such as health, education, food security, and resilience. The next category is water for agriculture. This is all of our work in soil and water management and irrigation to strengthen food security, nutrition, and livelihoods. These are not standalone programs, but rather this is a component or an area of work that is embedded in our food security, nutrition, and livelihoods and agriculture work. CARE has vast experience and decades of experience across our country, offices in this domain of work, but again, it's often embedded as a component in other programs. The fourth category is integrated water resources management and protection. This is all of our work around watershed management and water source protection, in particular as it relates to climate resilience and natural resources management and sustainability. Again, there are standalone programs and have been standalone programs in integrated water resources management, but more often, these are components of other programs, including food security and livelihoods programs, but also and now more frequently within broader climate resilience and climate justice programming. Collectively, this work impacts about 10 million people a year. That's roughly split between WASH and emergencies and the other three domains around water and development, and is spread across more than 50 countries. In reality, the impact is probably much greater, but CARE's measurement system or global measurement system hasn't always been able to capture impacts in water sanitation and hygiene or in water for agriculture and integrated water resources management. So we think this impact is actually quite a bit larger. Before moving on, I often start my kind of introduction to the water team's work with a quick thought experiment. And this is really meant to illustrate and kind of underline our focus on system strengthening and explain kind of what that focus is about. So the thought experiment here is, I'm guessing that you, listener, have water access in your home, that you have a tap in your home that you can turn on, and that whenever you turn it on, you can have water at any time of the day or at most times of the day. So the question is, what makes that water service work at your home? What are all of the components that are necessary in order for that tap to work whenever you turn it on? Now, normally this is kind of a conversation in a room, and so I wait for people to answer. You are welcome to pause and think about that for a second, but I'm going to skip straight ahead to what I think you're probably thinking and some of the categories that I think you have probably thought of. And in order for you to have sustainable and reliable water services in your home, there are a number of things that are necessary. You need a capable water source, a water source that is sufficient to give water to all of your community. You need an infrastructure that brings that water to your home, a vast network of pipes and pumps and other materials and infrastructure. That requires capital investment, likely on the part of a public entity that has made that has paid for that infrastructure to exist. On top of that, you're likely paying a monthly service fee. You're paying for that water access and that water to be delivered to your door. And in return, you're expecting that access to be of high quality and reliable. You need a sort of a network of capable plumbers and technicians to fix things when they break, such as leaks or, other types of breakages. You need government regulation and oversight so that there are clear sets of rules for consumers and customers, as well as service providers, about what the rules of that service provision are. And in the case of the US, at least, there's significant government subsidy. That is significant amount of finance that has been put into those public systems, as well as public-private systems. So all of that to say, it's not just a matter of having a tube that runs to your house or having a borehole, having the infrastructure, but it really is this broader system of capacities and conditions that ensure that you have reliable access in your home. And this is the case for most of the contexts in which we work. In order to ensure water, sanitation, and hygiene access in the countries where care works, many of those same system components have to be in place. So this is a good way to think about our WASH and even our broader Water Plus work. We work on that really broad set of capacities and conditions that are necessary to make sure those services are reliable and sustainable and equitable. So who is the Care Water team? So the team that sits within FWS is a relatively small team. There are between myself, Kelly Alexander, Sarah Hoffman, and Kyla Gregory all sit 100% on the water team and advise programs across our portfolio. We each essentially split our portfolio both by technical domain and geography, so we have kind of overlapping areas of expertise as well as some overlapping geographies. Paul Demerit-Verone is our Water and Ecosystems Officer. So they work in all of the elements of water and climate and those connections between, and they split their time between the water team as well as our climate justice work and partnerships team on FWS. Helen Pankhurst also is one of our water team senior advisors, but she also splits her time with Care Ethiopia and Care UK. We are currently recruiting for a water smart agriculture advisor as of June 2022. So soon that advisor will join our team and will provide technical assistance and thought leadership around water for agriculture and work closely with our food security and resilience teams and agriculture and market teams. And then Maria Mercedes Munoz is the Director of Water Resources Climate Change in the Amazon at Care Peru, and we work closely with her. She's sort of an adjunct member of the water team, playing a regional role in Latin America, as well as a global role in thinking, helping us and Care think more broadly around the connection between water and climate and water resources management. So we're a small but mighty team, but we look forward to meeting you. At the center of our team or the center of our work are our country office Water Plus teams. So those are all of the folks that sit within our programs at country offices, and they are the folks with vast amounts of experience across those domains of our broad Water Plus work, and are central to our work, and we consider them parts of our global water team. Just to give you a sense of our water team portfolio and kind of what those funders are, as well as what the projects are and the kind of themes. This is a pretty dense table, and I'll let you pause and read more fully. But just to point out that we have, that our broader portfolio is made up of a number of different donors and a number of different types of programs. So we have quite a bit of USAID funding, both as prime and sub, and both on contracts as well as cooperative agreements. We have some corporate and some foundation funding, and we have some sort of match funding to our bigger programs that's represented in that major gifts area. These are all programs that are managed directly by the water team in coordination with our country offices. But the Care Water team also provides a support role. So this blue column that says Water Team Support to Care USA, this is the support role that we play to other FWS teams. That is primarily, for example, in the RIFSAs, the Resilience Food Security Activities, which are big multi-sector USAID programs. That's also to the She Feeds the World program in Egypt and elsewhere around water smart agriculture, and to the WWF Care Alliance. These are just a few. We actually sort of support more broadly across climate justice and health and education as well. So in addition to managing key projects, we're also playing these kind of technical support roles to other sectors. We also do a number of internal consultancies. That's both, within kind of the gender and meal cohorts, which are big care platforms, as well as specific sort of more technical types of consultancies. And then we work with other care member partners and care country offices, such as Care Peru, to support some of their projects that they manage directly, either with other bilateral organizations, et cetera. So we provide a broader global support role. And you can see the types of themes there that those different kind of donors and projects encompass, all the way from a big focus again on WASH system strengthening to WASH and water resources management and water for agriculture as part of food security and nutrition components, and then various subsectors within. And we can go into more detail on that another time. I am not going to spend any time on this slide, but I wanted to include it here so that you could pause and take a read more through this text. And what this is meant to answer is the question of why care? What is our particular value add in the water space and the Water Plus space? You likely know of organizations like WaterAid or water.org. And often we get the question of, what's special about CARE's work? What is it that we do? And I'll let you read through this more fully, but I just wanted to highlight that these are some of these talking points. And in particular, the second one is a real acknowledgement that CARE as a multi-sector organization is well positioned to look at water as a cross-cutting issue, and that is really fundamental to our work. But water, by its nature is fundamental to all outcomes and sectors, and so being able to look at those intersections is really important. But I'll let you read more fully. Really quickly, just to give you a sense of kind of what some of those programs look like within our portfolio, I'll just highlight a few of these that kind of are across these domains. So the first is the Rana WASH program in Madagascar. This is a big USAID program, USAID funded program of which CARE is prime. And it is really focused on WASH system strengthening at multiple levels. So it really embodies a broader system strengthening approach, increasing capacities at national and local government levels, and also increasing public and private sector capacities and conditions for sustainable, equitable rural WASH services. So this includes working with private operators and private sector to scale and operate water services over time. There are many more components of this program. It's quite complex, but I think it embodies our work well. Similarly, the Ethiopia Sustainable WASH program is another program. It's a long-running program. Its focus is really on WASH system strengthening, but it also includes water smart agriculture and water resources management. And it's really focused on increasing public sector capacity to provide rural and last mile WASH services as part of a very explicit ambition to reach 100% WASH coverage within the next couple of years. So it's really kind of focused on this district level strengthening and service delivery and last mile service delivery. Our Côte d'Ivoire Community Sanitation Support System program. This is a really interesting, innovative program that's focused entirely on urban areas and entirely on kind of sanitation in dense urban settlements of Côte d'Ivoire. And it encompasses a digital component where it's really about a digital marketplace that connects consumers and service providers and government kind of within this broader market system, trying to strengthen that market system for sanitation service delivery in these dense urban settlements. It's really interesting and also really challenging. The Ecuador Water Fund program, this is through the Pedro Moncayo program. This is really focused on water resources management and protection, and particularly around helping local government refine financial models for watershed protection. So in this case, it's really about establishing a fund where water users and private sector kind of contribute to the finances needed for conservation of key water sources and recharge areas. The She Feeds the World Water Replenishment Program, this is both in Egypt and elsewhere. This is really focused on water smart agriculture and helping, in the case of Egypt, helping small scale farmers reduce dependence on surface and groundwater and protect water resources for agriculture in the face of water insecurity. And this is funded by PepsiCo, and the focus here is really on water replenishment, being able to sort of preserve water in perpetuity and towards sustainability. And then finally, just as this is just a small sort of slice of our broader portfolio, but meant to emphasize, various different types of programs. And finally, kind of in this slide, Ethiopia, what we call the Seizing the Moment WASH program. It's a new program. It will likely change name, but this is really focused on gender transformative WASH, and it's really focused in particular on increasing the connections between the Federal Ministry of Water, Energy, and Irrigation and the Office of essentially the Ministry of Women and Social Affairs. It's making the Ministry of Water accountable to the gender mandate. So making sure that there are women in leadership positions in WASH governance at all levels. It is really interesting. It is really focused on both kind of the policy and practice of gender equality in water and WASH. So stay tuned. We're really excited about that. Finally, before I let you go, I want to end on this slide and just make a brief nod to how does gender equality fit into our Water Plus programs. What essentially, so gender is cross-cutting across CARES programs. We have robust sets of tools, for gender transformation, but what does that look like in our WASH programs? So just a few of the pieces and the ways in which we approach gender and WASH. The first is strengthening women's leadership at all levels. So from community to government to private sector. This includes at the Ministry of Water to local government positions, to increasing women's leadership both in their households and community decision-making around WASH, to ensuring that women entrepreneurs, have space in water and WASH and sanitation related businesses. So this is a real focus at increasing women's leadership across those domains. It's also addressing barriers to women's leadership, participation, and equitable access. So there are a number of barriers to women's leadership and even their meaningful participation in WASH decision making. And so identifying and addressing those barriers is a big part of our work. To do that, a big part of that is examining and transforming social and gender norms at community and institutional levels. So what are those norms that are influencing water, sanitation, and hygiene behaviors and outcomes, as well as women's kind of participation and interaction with those? It also includes strengthening women's access to finance to pay for WASH services. WASH services by and large are paid, and so strengthening women's access to finance is a crucial element of ensuring equitable services. Another element of this is really understanding menstruation as a cross-cutting issue. Menstruation and menstrual health and hygiene has long been a domain within WASH or health, even education, but menstruation is an issue that impacts women across all the domains of their life, and so viewing it as such is a part of our work. There's much more to say here. This is, just a very brief sort of introduction to some of the topics that are really pivotal at the gender and WASH intersection. But I wanted to end that presentation with a brief acknowledgement of that, and happy to share more about our work. So finally, where can you find more resources? Here's a list of resources. First of all, the care.org Water Plus page. There's a number of our kind of key reports and documents that are there, and that's our public facing kind of website. We also have a SharePoint folder that's public within our water team SharePoint. Many of those folders are public, but in particular, we have kind of a public folder for Global Water Plus marketing that really is oriented towards kind of introducing our work and our portfolio and our funding needs. The institutional funding team, IFS team, also has a SharePoint in which many of our proposal and capture documents are there. So that's a lot of the context analysis for our big proposals, and that can be useful. The Agenda for Change website, CARE is a member of this global coalition called the Agenda for Change that focuses on WASH system strengthening, and there's many resources and tools there. So that's a good resource. And then please feel free to contact any of the members of our water team. We're always excited to talk to colleagues and to make those connections. So wonderful. Thank you for your attention. And please let us know of any comments or questions or connections. Great. Bye all.